What's up, everybody? Welcome to Own the Chaos. My name is Brad. The stock market is crazy and chaotic, and I made it my mission to help you guys own it. What a wild day, guys. We got so much to talk about. So many earnings that are coming out today as well, but the stock market is on absolute fire. We're going to discuss that right after this. I'm going to introduce the starting five. Unbelievable. You guys, Bodie Beard was like here 2 minutes after I made the live stream posting. So what's up? Kudos to you, Jeff Chow, Kevin Hawthorne. Good to see you, my man. Gabriel Navarro and Savvy Money Show. You guys are our starting five. If you missed out on the starting five, it could be because you're not subscribed or hitting that notification bell to get notified when I go live Monday through Thursday at 3:45 p.m. Eastern time to cover all of these earnings, which I am super pumped for. So make sure you're hitting that subscribe, hit that like button, and hit the notification bell because you might just show up on our next starting five. Looking at the market right now, again, as I'd mentioned before, it is on absolute fire. Right now, we have the S&P that's up 1.75%, which is good for 71 points. And this is after already a monster move. I'm going to talk about this in just a second, but let me just run this down. The Dow's up 463 points, which is good for 1.5%. The NASDAQ, the big winner here, up 2.75%. Russell's up 1.5%. Crude oil is down 4%. It's just teetering around $90 a barrel, which is probably why we're seeing such a move up, which is very interesting. Let's take a look at the SPY right now. It is well above that 410 resistance that I've been talking about for the last couple of days. We had to see that move above that, and I thought that we could see this continue. The SPY's up nearly 2% right now, sitting at 415.40. Looks like it's going to have a hell of a close today. And this rally that we've seen from the bottom around June at 362 seems to be a lot different than the bear market rallies that we've seen up until this point. I'm really excited about the market right now. I think that we're going to see a hell of a turnaround. Nothing goes straight up, right? We're still going to see some volatility. I'm sure there's going to be some points between now and the end of the year that the market gets a little bit spooked by whatever's going on. Obviously, geopolitically, it's a little bit unstable too, so that could have an impact. But looking at this, things seem to be turning around as far as optimism is concerned. We're seeing some really strong moves in the tech sector as well. Why is that happening? We're starting to see bonds come down. We're seeing inflation also come down in areas. I'm really excited to see what CPI numbers show on August 10th for the month of July. I think that we're going to see a drastic move down in CPI and inflation, and we're already seeing that. If WTI crude's coming down to $90 and we could see that come down as low as $80, then I think that we could also see an amazing rally. That's one big reason why the market has come down, because energy prices have been so high. And so why is that? One of the big reasons is because that attributes to a lot of the inflation. A huge part of inflation has been because of higher oil prices and energy. And now we're starting to see that come down on fears of some geopolitical issues that could impact demand. So where do we go from here? You can see that I have this trend line drawn. It's been in a pretty decent downward trend all year, obviously, over the last two quarters or 6 months. The second half of this year, I think that we could see a pretty decent rally, and that's barring that we don't see anything unforeseen. So, like I said, another war breaks out. This could ruin this chart. If not, everything stays as is and inflation starts to come down even more, then I think that we do see this continued rally. So a really decent break. I think if we break up above, in my opinion, somewhere around this area here at around 418 or 420, then this could really start to gain some steam and some more forward momentum. And also if we see oil continue to come down. And I think this is interesting. Karem says short oil. And in the short term, yes, I think that that's still very much the case because of just sentiment surrounding around everything else that's happening, right? Demand coming down slightly, but not a lot. But here's what I'll say. I don't think oil is done for. I think that over the next quarter, we could see some downward momentum on energy and oil. But as I'd mentioned before, watch for the end of the year, because in December, further sanctions are supposed to be imposed on Russia. And as far as oil is concerned, which means that Europe is going to continue to struggle with supply problems. They're already struggling with that now. Imagine what happens when you impose further sanctions on Russia, so you're not taking advantage of the oil that they have, that supply, and it gets cold. Winter is coming. I think that we're going to see a significant increase once we start, whenever oil decides it wants to bottom out, which I think it could be somewhere around 80 to $85 a barrel. So we're not far from that. I think that there is room for energy to continue to go up, and we're going to hear from Marathon Oil that has earnings today as well, and that'll be interesting to see what their outlook is for the rest of the year, maybe, and or the next 6 months. I think it's going to be very, very interesting to hear their perspective when they report earnings today. We got other earnings today as well. We have Robinhood. I mean, the shit show, aka dumpster fire, whatever you want to call it, of Robinhood. And I'm not optimistic about that. I have to say, but it will be interesting to watch that. We have Lucid Motors or Lucid Group also reporting, Fortinet, Mercado Libre, E.l.f., which is a beauty company, and that's going to be sneaky good, I think. I'm going to give you my thoughts on that in just a second. But then many others. If you guys want me to look at some of the other ones that I'm not talking about currently, feel free to put them in the chat. Hopefully I'll catch them. Yeah, I think that there's a lot going on here. We reacted to SoFi yesterday. SoFi reported earnings. Guys, I mentioned to you yesterday that I felt really good about SoFi. It's up 30% today off an incredible quarter. I mean, incredible quarter, 100% growth year over year in membership. And that to me is why the stock continues to go up. And I think it's going to, I don't think it's over. I don't think it's done. Could we see some profit taking? Sure. Absolutely. That's natural and healthy. But I think that SoFi has officially bottomed out. And to me, I think it's only up from here, especially considering the growth that we've seen from SoFi. It's come down so much. And I think that it's been undervalued for so long that this actually does feel good. So I'm actually pretty excited about SoFi, and I'm excited for fintech in general. We're going to hear from Block tomorrow, formerly known as Square, and I think that's going to continue. PayPal also we reacted to yesterday. Fintech is back, baby. It is continuing to rock and roll. PayPal's up 9%. Upstart also is up 15%. So just some really good moves in fintech today, and really for the last week or so. It seems as if there's potential bottoms here for fintech and really just tech in general. I mean, we look at Microsoft. I was looking at Microsoft earlier today. That's up 3%. Apple is up 4%. Amazon is up 4.5%. So on a fantastic day overall. Cloud companies, Snowflake is up 6%. So obviously this can't go on forever. Nothing goes up in a straight line, but it certainly feels good to see some of the tech stocks moving today. CrowdStrike also up and at a resistance here at 195. So this to me, all good stuff. We're going to react to some of the other earnings that are coming up. But I just happened to notice this from Christopher. Brad doesn't say Lucid with the same enthusiasm as Ford. There's good reason for that, my friend. Ford is absolutely on fire from a production standpoint, and the way that they're going to crank out the Lightning. They're going to squash Lucid. They're not going to squash. I don't think maybe they won't squash Lucid in the technology part, but market share and sales, I just don't see how Lucid's going to be able to keep up. And honestly, while I like the company and I love the car, it's sexy. It's got everything that you want: range, horsepower, performance, all that stuff, luxury. It's a beautiful car. Love it. The company will get crushed or bought out, one of the two. That's my thoughts. That's my opinions on it. I just don't see how a company like Lucid breaks in and takes any kind of market share away from Tesla, Ford, even GM. It's going to be really tough to compete with that. I just don't see how they do it. I don't. I mean, and there's been plenty of other car companies that have come into this space before EVs really hit mainstream that tried to break into the car market. And the big three has been so impenetrable that any car company that tries to come in and compete with them from bootstrapping it. I'm not talking about like foreign car companies coming in and taking market share. I'm talking about companies that aren't legacy companies. It's just going to be really tough. And that's just the reality. Tesla was an outlier. Tesla broke the mold. Nobody else is going to be able to do what Tesla did or is doing or will do. Tesla's going to be number one. I still think that Ford's going to be the number two EV maker in the world, second to only Tesla. Those are my thoughts. What a great week so far, says Snookeroo. Yeah, absolutely. Let's go ahead and talk about some of the earnings that are coming up. So Robinhood, estimated earnings per share for Robinhood. Let's go ahead and pull up the chart on that. This has just been absolutely abysmal. It's crazy to think that this stock was sitting at $85 a share shortly after it went public, now trading at $10.29, and it's actually up 11.5% today. My hunch is, let's go ahead and just look at the 5-minute chart just to see how it's been reacting. My hunch is here that it's going to be pretty ugly. Estimated earnings per share for Robinhood here are a loss of 34 cents, 376.86 million. I think it's only a matter of time that Robinhood actually gets bought out by somebody. I was actually surprised that the valuation didn't come down to levels that was really attractive to somebody like a Charles Schwab or JP Morgan or something like that. I think that this is going to be a stock that gets bought up eventually. It's just only a matter of time. They announced yesterday that they're laying off 23% of their staff, which is probably why we saw a spike in the stock. If you're laying off that many workers, that means that you're saving money and actually improving your balance sheet. So that's why it made it attractive for some buyers to come in and scoop up some Robinhood. I don't think that's going to be enough to save the stock. They have missed every single earnings since its IPO this time last year. So not optimistic about Robinhood. I hope that nobody went crazy long on this. I'm not here to tell you what to buy or what to sell, but to me, this seems like it is pretty rough for Robinhood, and I'm not very optimistic about those earnings either, but we will react to those in about 3 minutes when the market closes. So I'm pretty pumped about that. Then we have Lucid, as I'd mentioned. Let's go ahead and take a look at that, as we briefly spoke about that and struggle that they might have taking up market share. The stock's up 4.5%. Had another great day yesterday as well. So really decent buildup going into these earnings. Now, Lucid's expected earnings per share is also for a loss of 36 cents, $145.49 million in revenues expected. The price share last year allowed Chief Executive Officer Peter Rawlinson to collect more than $260 million in performance-based awards. And that's with selling, what, a handful of cars? So I just find it very interesting. The stock right now, the market cap is trading at $34 billion. I still think that's quite expensive. I just can't constitute spending the kind of money like that on Lucid, because they're not doing anything special to really set them apart like a Tesla did to break that mold. I just don't see it. Like I said, I love the company and the cars, the products that they're making are fantastic. I just don't know if it's enough to really start to take over market share in a sustainable way. My hunch is that they get bought out by somebody eventually. I'm not saying it's tomorrow, next week, or even next year, but I think at some point Lucid will get bought out. It wouldn't surprise me if that happened. The stock would have to come down much lower for that to happen, but it wouldn't surprise me if we saw that. We also have Fortinet that's going to be reporting, and guys, I mean, this has been something that is crazy. Stock's up 4% today. It's actually only down 5% on the year, and it's actually up 10% over the last 52 weeks. So this has been a pretty solid stock. Yeah, it's down on the year by 5%, but still outperforming the market by a lot. Over the past 2 years, Fortinet has beaten earnings per share estimates 100% of the time and has beaten revenue estimates 100% of the time as well. Over the last 3 months, earnings per share estimates have seen 4 upward revisions and 16 downward. So there's a lot of worry about this actually coming in lower than expected, but they've done really well on expectations. The consensus for the estimate here is at 22 cents per share. That will be down 76% year over year. And the consensus revenue estimate is at 1.03. That would be up 28% year over year. So the concern here is inflation and obviously a lot of the other things that have gone on with this space. And so I think that, looking at Fortinet, the bar is set pretty low. I don't think that there's much that they could do that would induce a whole lot of selling unless they really just shit the bed, right? Like if they came in and really came in below expectations. I think that would, of course, prompt some selling. But to me, the cybersecurity space is still on fire. And Fortinet is a solid company in this space, and the market is officially closed. This is your 5-minute chart. We're starting to see some movement on that a little bit. Doesn't look like those is because earnings are out just yet, but cybersecurity still very much in play here. Nothing has killed demand at all in this space, so I think Fortinet's going to be a really solid play. I'd be surprised if we saw any kind of downward movement after hours. That would be my surprise if we saw that. Mercado Libre also reporting earnings. I know a lot of you guys are Mercado Libre fans. MELI closed up on the day 6.5%. I mean, just crazy for them to close up that much. And the estimated earnings per share for that is $1.79, $2.5 billion in revenue. This is going to be one to certainly watch out for. And then finally, E.l.f. So E.l.f., as I mentioned at the top of the show, is a very interesting company to watch. You might not see a whole lot of uh, volume here, maybe after hours on the reaction, but this is going to be sneaky good to watch because it could impact what we're seeing. Look at this chart. I mean, this is your daily chart right now. This is what it's been doing on your daily chart. And I think that there's a lot of reasons for this. Consumers might be cutting back on some items due to inflation, but a survey conducted by Cohen analysts shows people plan to stick with their beauty regimen. Cohen surveyed 1,000 respondents, and 70 to 75% indicated they will spend the same amount on beauty products this year compared with last year. So they're not cutting back on makeup or face cleansers or any of that stuff. A favorite Gen Z and millennials, a favorite of Gen Z and millennials due to the low cost and high quality of their products. We've seen how Ulta and Estee Lauder have just continued to do extremely well despite the environment that we're in. It almost kind of feels recession proof. This is kind of like one of the last things that women and some men are willing to give up. So I think that E.l.f. could come in and actually do quite well on their earnings. The estimated earnings per share is 23 cents, $108 million. So still a very small company, but look at the chart, man. I mean, it's been a thing of beauty. If you guys aren't familiar with E.l.f. or what it stands for, eyes, lips, and face is E.l.f. If you guys have never seen this, as I know that primarily a large demographic of you guys are watching are men, but maybe some of your lady friends or what have you use E.l.f. Let me know in the comments if you've ever heard of it. And Melanie Hutchinson wants to see blood. Haven't we seen enough of that? Oh man. Oops. Let's see. So it said somebody mentioned that Hood would pre-announced yesterday. Is that true? I didn't see that in any of the news that I had gotten. I think the reason that it moved was because of the uh, employee cuts. I didn't see that they actually reported earnings. Maybe they did. I didn't catch that. It looks like they did. So I do apologize. I didn't catch us. So they came in at earnings per share loss of 34 cents. They actually beat estimates by 2 cents. So they came in at a loss of 34, revenue of 318, and they missed revenue by a lot. 3.51 million is what they missed by. So that's your Robinhood. And that's interesting to see that they're up. I think the one reason why they're up, as I mentioned earlier, was because of that employee cut. Still not a fan of this. But yeah, I don't know about. I still don't know about just going long on Hood and staying long on it. Not a big fan of that. So yeah, appreciate that, guys. Sometimes there's certain things that I miss. So appreciate that. Robinhood is trash, says Alan Roth. Couldn't agree more. Can Hood be a danger for squeezing? I don't know if I really want to find out, to be honest with you. There's so many better opportunities, especially given the way that this market has been moving. So many better opportunities. But those are your numbers for Robinhood. Okay, fair mistake. I thought that we were still going to be waiting on their report, but it looks like they actually reported early by accident. So let's go ahead and take a look at one other one. Booking Holdings is actually up a ton. 5.6% is what that's trading at after hours. And that is on absolute fire right now. I mean, my God. Let's go ahead and see what those numbers are going to be or what they are. Remember, uh, uh, Airbnb came in and reported earnings yesterday and did quite well, but the stock sold off. Booking, however, is now selling up or trading up 5%. Looks as if those earnings did beat. They came in and reported earnings of $19.08 per share, $1.41 better than consensus of $17.67. Revenues rose 99.1% year over year to 4.3 billion versus the 4.35 that was expected. So a slight miss on that, but still a solid quarter there. There's a couple other ones. Bookings up 38%. Foreign exchange headwinds are certainly a problem. We've heard about this over the last couple of quarters, right? Microsoft has talked about the strong dollar kind of being a hindrance to their bottom line, and many of the other tech companies as well. So that's not really too much of a shock. Stock is starting to give back some of its gains a little bit. It was up as much as almost 5.5%, now down to being up 4.25. Not too much of a move down, but pretty solid quarter for Booking. I mean, that is crazy. 99% increase year over year on revenue. That is pretty darn good. But I will say the beat here on earnings per share and the slight miss on revenue is in line with what Airbnb reported. If you guys recall, Airbnb, however, also announced a $2 billion buyback. So I'm not seeing anything as far as bookings concerned on any kind of buyback just yet. That could be here in the report as well, but not seeing that as of right now. Let's take a look at some of the other ones. See if we're seeing any movement on Mercado Libre, ticker symbol MELI. That stock is now up 6.5% over or after hours here, after already being up 6.5% on the day. So closed up 6.5, now up another 6.5 after hours. This is very interesting, guys. I mean, very interesting. Mercado Libre reported earnings of $2.43. The consensus was $1.68. They smashed it. They crushed earnings despite inflation and despite supply chain problems. In the second quarter, they came in and smashed profits. $2.43 versus $1.93. Revenue came in and beat as well. $2.6 billion versus the $2.51 billion expected. And there you have it. The stock is now up 6.25%. What a beat for Mercado Libre. Everybody thought e-commerce was dead. Y'all thought wrong. Total payment volume 30.2 billion versus 17.5 year over year. GMV 18.55 versus 7.02 year over year. I mean, all these numbers are great. Items sold 264 million versus 245 year over year. Unique active users 84 million versus 76 million year over year. These are all fantastic numbers, guys. Mercado Libre is absolutely crushing it right now. Holy shit. Man, what a beat for Mercado Libre. Lucid, let's see, down 10% after hours. This is not a surprise to me. Lucid is looks like they missed on earnings and they slashed 2022 vehicle production by 50%. Tesla's still king, guys. Lucid came in at a loss of 33 cents. Revenue came in and missed by $59 million. So they came at a loss of 33 cents. I think the consensus was a loss of, 41 cents. But they came in and revenue was just an absolutely atrocious miss. $97.3 million was the actual. They missed by nearly $60 million on expectations for the quarter. That is awful. Let me see if I can find some additional numbers here. As I mentioned, production volume outlook for 2022 was revised to a range of 6,000 to 7,000 vehicles. I believe that's cut in half. Q2 revenue, as I mentioned, 93.7 million, driven by customer deliveries of 679 vehicles in the quarter. So this is what I'm talking about. I like Lucid. I think that their products are fantastic, and on paper they look great. But they only sold 679 vehicles in the quarter. You compare that to any of the big ones, and it's going to be an uphill battle for Lucid moving forward. Strong demand with over 37,000 reservations, representing total potential sales of approximately 3.5 billion was a part of their report. But here's the problem. They're not producing enough. 679 vehicles is not enough. I mean, you have 37,000 reservations and you don't even get 1,000 out for the whole quarter. That's a big problem. How many of those customers are going to just be fed up with waiting and just go and buy a Tesla or a Ford or even a GM EV? You know, how many people are going to be patient enough to wait on a Lucid? I really can't give you the answer there. I really just can't. That is crazy. Absolutely crazy. Look at that. What a move down. Now the stock's down around 12% after hours. Don Franz Show tuning in said Lucid is going out of business. That's what I'm saying. You know, I think they're going to get bought out. I really do. I don't think they'll go out of business. I think they'll get bought out by somebody. It wouldn't surprise me if Ford or GM or even Volkswagen, somebody like that, some luxury car company comes in and scoops them up. Would not surprise me at all. At all. All right, so we got a couple other ones. Let's check in on Fortinet. That stock's now down 11% after hours. Whoa. This is a bit of a surprise to me. I thought Fortinet would come in and actually perform pretty well, especially because cybersecurity has been just, the demand has not slowed down at all, but it looks as if things aren't looking good for Fortinet. Let me see if I can find those numbers for you. So they came in product revenue of $400.7 million. That's up 34% year over year. The total revenue of $1.03 billion was they came in line on the revenue. It looks like 1.3. Yeah, 1.03. So that was up 30%. Let's see on earnings per share. Earnings per share expectations were 22 cents. They came in at 21, it looks like. So 21 cents, that was a miss on earnings per share. They actually came in line on revenue. Now the stock is down about 12% after hours. I mean, that is a really tough miss on I mean, where it really isn't a real tough miss. I take that back. I don't know what's going on here. Maybe it's guidance. They're quoted as saying we delivered strong revenue and billings growth in the second quarter, driven by over a 50% year-over-year increase. The number of transactions larger than the $1 million. Large enterprise companies continue to favor Fortinet's industry leading costs for a performance advantage and integrated perform strategy. That is from the chairman and CEO. Their market share gains are being driven by the convergence of networking and security and accelerating focus in the vendor consolidation with our core platform and platform extension solutions designed to secure our customers' entire infrastructure from the data center and the cloud. I mean, I don't know. This is very interesting stuff. Total revenue was 1.03 billion, which was the expectation, and product revenue was up 400.7 million, 34% increase year over year. These numbers don't look bad. I'm not seeing anything or a reason as to why this is down. Trying to figure out that guidance number. Revenue, here we go. Guidance in the range of 1.1 billion to 1.13 for the rest of 2022. I believe that is actually below expectations on that. So that could be why the stock is down, but it is trying to claw its way back a little bit. Yeah, so it looks like earnings pretty much came in line. Some people are saying consensus was around 22, so that would mean that would be a slight beat on earnings per share. But everything was just kind of in line. I guess maybe could also be that there was no surprises here with Fortinet. I'm not quite sure. Don Fran says Apple's not buying an EV company, referring to those Lucid numbers. So anyhow, those are your Fortinet numbers. Let's check in to see if E.l.f. has any numbers. Oh yeah, here we go. Stock's up 5.5%. This is what I expected from E.l.f. Anybody in the chat own E.l.f. or was bullish on E.l.f. going into these earnings? Congrats to those if you were. E.l.f. came in. They beat earnings per share, came in at 39 cents. That is a beat of 15 cents from expectations. Revenue of 122.6 million. They also beat that by 26%. So they came in at 13.48 million higher than expectations. Right now, the stock is up 5.5%. They updated their outlook as well, so a nice upgrade on that. Net sales 448 point to 456 million from the prior outlook of 432 to 440 versus the 441 consensus. So they also crushed guidance expectations. This stock is probably going higher than the 5% that it's sitting at right now. Adjusted diluting earnings per share 84 to 87 cents from the prior outlook of 78 to 81. So not only are they boosting guidance for revenue, but they're also boosting guidance for earnings per share as well. And that's why that stock is moving up. What a quarter for E.l.f. This doesn't come as much of a surprise to me, but this makes me pretty bullish on the beauty industry as a whole. I mean, I wonder if, let's see if Ulta has moved on this. Not much. Ulta hasn't moved much. I would be curious to see if Ulta falls in line with what we're seeing from E.l.f. As I'd mentioned before, a survey by Cohen talked about how consumers of beauty products aren't planning on reducing or cutting back on spending here at all. And the crazy part is we haven't seen cutting back on spending for beauty products throughout this entire cycle um, of between COVID and inflation. None of that has deterred these beauty products companies. Estee Lauder, Ulta, E.l.f. They've all done extremely well. Pittsburgh T, appreciate this, bro. Thanks for joining the Chaos Crew. Said just rejoin my membership. Thanks for all you do. Thanks so much, man. Yeah, if you guys are just tuning in or you're new to the channel, check out that join button next to subscribe. I put out a watch list for our folks. I have cut that back just because I'm starting a new business here, which I'm also excited to share with you guys. And I'm really pumped for that. So make sure that you guys tune in. But yeah, welcome to the Chaos Crew. If you guys want access to our Discord group, the link is in the chat as well. We'd love to have you guys there. But man, thanks for coming back. I really appreciate it. Really appreciate it. Melanie Hutchinson says filters will eventually kill the beauty industry. If it hasn't already, it won't, in my opinion. And I don't think it will. But if you guys are just tuning in, first of all, make sure you hit that thumbs up on your way in the door. There's 52 likes with 215 people watching. Feel like that's a bit light. So make sure you guys hit that that thumbs up. I certainly would appreciate it if you're enjoying the stream so far. And anyways, just looking at the poll that I put up earlier, looks like most of you guys were excited to see Lucid's earnings, and Lucid did not do well. Unsurprisingly, at least to me, I thought that Lucid was going to do poorly, and they did. They came in and actually beat earnings per share, but missed horribly on revenue, and also came in and lowered their guidance on production. Production has been cut in half for the remainder of the year. This is not good. They came in and only delivered 679 vehicles. That's it. That's all they were able to produce with reservations at 37,000. I just don't know how they're going to be able to catch up to that kind of demand. And for those reasons, I think they're actually going to lose demand to their competitors. That to me, is not a recipe for any kind of move to the upside at all. I really think that this is going to be a struggle for Lucid and really anybody else, right? You know, Fisker, I believe, also had earnings today. That stock's down 3.5%, 3.75%. I'm sure those earnings are out, and it's probably not pretty either. So all these EV companies that came out during the pandemic and just before the pandemic hit, and they all did extremely well, I think they're all going to fall to the wayside. I mean, we saw this from Lordstown and even some of the other ones. Fisker, Lucid, they were slightly bigger and maybe had a little bit more capital behind them, but I think that they're also going to get crushed. And I like Rivian as well, but I think Rivian gets crushed unless, Amazon comes in and saves the day. So Tony B says, Lucid, sorry, bro. I thought they would do good. NIO it is. I don't think NIO does all that well either. You have huge competition in China too. BYD is going to actually crush everybody over there. And the only competition that I think could actually hold a candle to Boyd, or not Boyd, it's not Boyd Gaming. BYD is an OTC, so it might not show up here on Webull, but BYD is a Warren Buffett stock. It's a Chinese automaker. They are crushing it in the numbers category, and they're actually doing better than Tesla is over there. as far as deliveries and production is concerned. So I think that while Neo certainly is compelling, I think that they get crushed too. Fisker went with MGA, which might help, maybe, but the stock's down. Jason, I agree. It's Tesla, BYD, and everybody else. I'm 100% with you on that one. 100%. That I think you hit the nail on the head as far as that's concerned. So we reacted to a lot of stocks here already. Let's go ahead and check back with Mercado Libre. They absolutely smashed earnings in every category imaginable. They were already up 6.5% as of the close today, and then came in and crushed it on earnings, and they're up another 11% after hours. Absolutely smashed it. Some people are talking about MGM earnings. That stock is now up 4.5%. Yeah, they reported earnings today. Let me see if I can pull those up for you guys. This is great for gaming. I'm still a holder of Penn National. MGM comes in, earnings per share of 3 cents. Is that right? Wow. Okay, hold on a second. What the hell's going on here? So the reported earnings of 3 cents per share. The consensus was 24. I'm seeing multiple reports of this. This must be the case. So why is the stock up? Let's see if we can dig for some info here. Stock's up 5% after already being up 3.5% as of the close. They came in at $330 billion. They beat the estimate of revenue there. But that miss on earnings per share is crazy. 3 cents is what they came in at. And I'm seeing three different sources here that all are saying the same thing. 3 cents per share. The estimate was at 26. Some are saying the estimate was at 24, but that doesn't matter. They still came in at 3 cents per share. They came in at $330 billion. The estimate there was $3.04 billion. What the hell? Why is this stock up? It can't just be because of the revenue. Is there some big ass buyback? Yeah, I mean that is the earnings per share, and that was the estimate. This is crazy. Let me see if I can dig some more into this report. Acquired the operations of Cosmopolitan of Las Vegas, announced the sale of the operations of Goldstrike to Nika for $450 million. Repurchased $1.1 billion of shares, the common stock during the second quarter, or 8% of the outstanding shares. Continued to pursue a commercial gaming license in New York and development of Integral Resort in Osaka, Japan. None of this is mind-blowing type stuff. I don't really understand why the stock is up so much. Let me see. Anybody in the chat seeing anything? CNBC, they're claiming they had a record quarter. Yeah, but I mean, coming in missing on earnings is just craziness. That is wild. So that's MGM. I really can't explain to you why MGM's up after hours. They came in. Here's a couple of quotes. We see exceptional value in our company's shares and have returned capital to our shareholders by a purchase of over $1.1 billion of our stock in the second quarter. Since early 2021, the execution of our asset-light strategy has allowed us to repurchase 31% of our market cap while accumulating domestic cash in excess of debt on our balance sheet. That's not mind-blowing. Consolidation net revenues of $3.3 billion compared to $2.3 billion the prior year quarter. Increase of 44%. No idea, guys. We'll come back to that, but those are your MGM numbers. They came in and missed earnings per share by a lot. Expectations was around 24 cents. They came in with an actual of 3 cents. 3 cents. But they did beat revenue numbers by a lot. And maybe that's what investors are liking about this. The growth here is what makes them attractive. I'm really not quite sure what the deal is with that. So anyways, some people are saying hopefully this bodes well for Penn National, which, yeah, by the way, I'm also a holder of Penn. The stock is up 1%, I guess, in response maybe to what's going on with MGM. They had a pretty decent day, and they've had a pretty decent couple of weeks. Penn National's also been moving up. It looks as if the bottom could be in for them. Came down to $26, sitting now at $36. So pretty solid move for Penn. They have earnings tomorrow, and Penn's earnings tomorrow are going to be ones to watch too. If you guys are interested in Penn National, for those of you who have been followers of mine for a while, you guys know that I've been big on Penn National and what they have going on, just because they have a path to profitability that nobody else has in the sports betting side of things. Their estimated earnings per share tomorrow at 50 cents. They'll be reporting before the market opens. So 50 cents per share, $1.6 billion is the estimate there. So make sure you're getting up early if you're in Penn National and keeping an eye on that, because that will be an interesting one to watch too. So, man, see a lot of you guys tuning in on the Lucid numbers. So Meli asked why Lucid is falling, because they absolutely shit the bed. Let's take a look again at Lucid's numbers, or let's look at the chart here. So here's your 5-minute chart on Lucid. It's now down around 12% after hours. They came in and beat on earnings per share, and that's it. That's the only good thing that they did. They came in and missed on revenue by a ton. Then came in and did even worse on guidance. They came in and are now speaking to coming in and on deliveries, half of what they were expecting for the quarter. Only 679 vehicles delivered in the second quarter. That's it. 37,000 reservations for Lucid, and they only delivered 679 for the quarter. It's not good. It's not good. I don't think Lucid's going to be there, guys. I don't think you're going to be there for a while, if at all. Marathon. Yeah, so Marathon Oil is also reporting earnings today. And that stock's up about 1%. I'd imagine they probably did pretty well. Here's the thing about Marathon. Even though that price of oil has come down considerably, closed the day around 91 bucks a barrel for WTI crude, Marathon's making money after $35 a barrel. So it's still going to be a good quarter for them, I would think. I don't see any numbers that have been reported yet as far as their earnings release is concerned. We can come back for that, but my hunch is that Marathon's going to be just fine. I don't think that there's anything to worry about as far as their earnings, and I would imagine they probably don't move all that much on earnings unless there's something absolutely crazy. So that's what's going on with Marathon. I saw someone asking about Skills. So let's take a look at SKLZ. They had earnings today too, and that stock's down around 10.5%. This isn't a surprise to me either. I mean, it's been really tough on the gaming industry. They haven't really been able to recover after everybody went back to work, right? After everybody was done with their lockdowns and gaming, it's just been really tough. They came in at a loss of 15 cents versus the loss of 16 cents. So that's a slight beat on earnings per share. But the real kicker here is that they came in at $73.3 million in revenue, and the expectation there was 93.3. So missed on revenue by a ton. They cut their guidance as well, 2.75 million versus the 3.96 million. That is a huge cut. A huge cut. Loss of 56. That's 56 cents or 56% lower than the year prior. 400 million was the expectation there. They just not good. Guidance is really terrible. Gross marketplace volume was at 432 million versus the 609 that was expected year over year. So really bad stuff for Skills. The stock's now down 17%. I would have stayed away from this regardless, but those are your numbers for Skills. That's pretty tough. Confluence. Somebody was asking about Confluence. Let's take a look at that. That is ticker symbol CFLT. Stock's up 8%, almost 9% after hours. This is not a company that I'm actually all that familiar with, but we can take a look at it. CFLT. Let's see. Total revenue of 139 million. That's up 58% year over year. Cloud revenue came in at 47 million. Wow. I mean, this is pretty good stuff. Up 139% year over year. Remaining performance obligations of 591 million, up 81% over year. So these are pretty solid numbers. I'm not familiar with this company, but anytime I see 139% growth year over year on revenue, that's pretty damn good. Not quite sure what the expectation was there, but those are your numbers for Confluent, and the stock's now up 9%. Christopher Wisdom says we got to get the likes up. I would appreciate that. We got about 260 of you guys hanging in here. 77 likes. Let's get it to 100. I feel like that's very achievable. So be sure to do that. Help support the stream. Help support the channel. I certainly would appreciate it. And guys, I mean, we've gone over a ton of stuff, a lot of earnings that were released today. Let me just recap a couple of them. I know a lot of you guys are in here for Lucid, so I'll just recap Lucid here real quick. The stock's down around 12% after coming in and beating earnings per share and nothing else. They came in and missed revenue horribly, and then also cut delivery expectations in half for the year. Only delivered 679 vehicles for Q2. There's reservation lists of 37,000. Remember when people actually bought Lucid and Rivian and some of these other companies off of oh my God. Remember Nikola? All the reservations that they had. It doesn't mean dick if you can't get the deliveries out. If you can't produce a product, it doesn't mean anything. So this is terrible. 37,000 reservations and only 679 vehicles delivered. And so the question then becomes, how many of those people are going to just grow impatient and go and buy a Tesla? Because you can get it much quicker than a Lucid or a Ford for that matter, right? So any other EV you can get quicker than you can get a Lucid. And what makes Lucid so special? 1,000 horsepower? No, there's other EV companies that have that. 500 miles of range? No, there's other EV companies that at least come close to that. So I don't think that there's anything special about Lucid that makes me want to wait that long to get my vehicle versus just going out and buying something else that looks just as good and performs just as well. So in my opinion, I think that Lucid is in a lot of trouble here. Now down 12%. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes down much lower than that in the months to come and the quarters to come. Very tough stuff there. To me, that is just not something that I would be about. Really rough. Mike Hudson says, I'm late to the stream, but come join us for the after party in the OTC Discord. Yeah, guys, go check that out. The link is actually in the chat. Would love to have you guys hang out there in Discord. So it's free. Go ahead and check that out. Interesting comment here from Christopher. Says you're mixing the sectors. Nikola is a push down the hill truck. I'm not mixing sectors. This is still EV, right? I was just comparing the lists of reservations. Ford's got lists of reservations for a lot of F-150s, and if they can't produce those vehicles, they're going to lose customers. Nikola had a lot of reservations, and that's why the stock went up. That's what I was talking about. Back in 2020 and 2021, we saw a lot of EV companies go up on reservations and not much else. It's like they have to be able to produce that. So that was the comparison that I was trying to draw. It's hydrogen, not EV. It's both. So anyways, that's the comparison I was just trying to draw. Reservations on these vehicles and why people bought them up way back then. And here's the big problem. They can't produce them. That's all I was trying to say. They were. So Z Rider says Nikola should get in the business of collecting reservations. They did. And that's why the stock actually went up, because of the interest. But yeah. So that is your numbers, guys. And that's going to be the show. No shit or legit today. We're going to do it tomorrow. There was just a lot to report on, and we're out of time for today. But I really appreciate you guys hanging out today and just reacting to a lot of these stocks. We got so many other stocks to react to tomorrow as well. And it's actually going to be a bigger afternoon tomorrow than it even was today. So tomorrow morning, there's Alibaba that reports. We can talk about that if there's anything worth talking about. Kellogg's, Crocs, Datadog, ConocoPhillips, Paramount, Lilly, Eli Lilly, and Penn National all report tomorrow pre-market. So anything special there, we'll certainly talk about that tomorrow afternoon at 3:45 p.m. Eastern time. So make sure you hit that thumbs up, hit that notification bell, because I will be live for that. And then after the afternoon, there's going to be a lot of exciting earnings that coming out tomorrow afternoon as well. There's AMC, Square, or Block, that is now known as. Fubo was very popular even just a year ago. Twilio, Carvana, and Cloudflare. So all some pretty good companies that are going to be reporting tomorrow that I'm going to be reacting to at 3:45 p.m. Eastern time, as I always do Monday through Friday. So if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. And guys, thanks so much for tuning in. I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye.